Hello there. How are you? I am Paul. So I've entitled this video how spirituality has basically derailed us into believing that suffering and pain is part of our spiritual awakening process. And it's not. It's actually quite the opposite, but just know that the entities that are creating and diverting want us to believe that it's painful and uncomfortable, and it has actually distracted and diverted us from processes that would be quite healing for us. Things like sacred sexuality, pleasure are all designed to awaken and heal us, to shift and clear trauma. Processes like breath work. We're actually trained into societally to breathe shallow in our bodies. So the more we breathe into our diaphragm and into our lower belly, you'll find stuff comes up just like it is now. You'll feel coughing and other things as the trauma is trying to heal. The tightness is in our pelvis a lot of times and is actually not serving us. It's like bubbles of trauma that have been basically pushed down as deeply as they can in our pelvis and basically sit and stick like black goo inside of us. And that's why things like pleasure and sexuality with a partner basically moves and breaks up those bubbles and those traumas, because they're stored so far down, which is our root chakra, which is also our genitals and the kind of lowest place energetically we can push things. I guess you could probably push them into your feet, but basically with your body, that's kind of your lowest point. That's kind of the stationary part of who you are. So lately I've been on a big journey, and I've been learning so much. Where to start? So a good example is yin yoga. I love to do yoga, and I think yoga is very good, the breathing and the movement part. But yin is to go into a pose like pigeon, for example, where it's like put your front leg in front of you and then bend it to its side so that knee is now off to the side. It's kind of in front of your body and bent off at a 90-degree level. And then you put your other leg, the opposite leg, because you can do it on either side, in a straight line out, and then lay your body down as much as you can to basically get as close to the floor. And yin is about pushing yourself into this pose and releasing the trauma and the energies that are stuck in the muscle groups, usually your glutes and legs. A process that I found extremely uncomfortable and painful, and I had to do lots of breathing, and it was very harsh to my body. I'm sure once you've done it a lot and you let those traumas out of your muscle group, it would be good. But I attempted it. I'd been doing it for years, haven't done yoga for a little while, and then I attempted to go back, and I was in the middle of it, and my body said no. It said, do not do this. This is really suffering and pain, and it's forcing yourself to limits that could be dangerous, because I know lots of people that have popped ligaments and pulled muscles and other things by doing this, but by forcing your body past its limits does not serve. Another example, so I basically vowed to myself, I was in the middle of this pain and suffering of trying to stretch out and do all these kind of things, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? Why am I doing this to myself? And it's reinforced it. So I said, I'm not going back to yin yoga. I'm sure there'll be lots of people that'll say yin yoga is amazing, and it is to some extent, but there's a part of me that's a sadomasochist, and there may be one in you as well. There's so much evidence that we've been trained into masochistically harming ourselves without knowing it, and self-sabotaging ourselves and other stuff. Another example that's going on in my life right now is I'm part of a group called the Deer Tribe, which is kind of Native American lineage, and it believes in having sweat lodges. And I've had, look at all the trauma coming up. I've had some negative experience in past sweat lodges, but I went back to this man that I know, and he's here in Calgary, and I attended some sweat lodges, and I thought I was getting healing from them, but they were always intense, and I was just in the middle of the sweat lodge. I wanted to run away. I'm just like feeling too much heat and all this kind of stuff. Since then, I've found out through traditional Chinese medicine that my body is a fire sign. So actually going into heat like that, or drinking warm water all the time, or other things overexcites my body and my energy and my meridians, and it's actually not healthy for me. But after the last sweat lodge, it was really fucking intense, and I basically got to a point, and I told the fire chief that I wanted to leave, and he poured some water on me to cool me off, which didn't really help, and said, "No, please stay." And it triggered me, but I stayed, and I finished the lodge, and then afterwards, a couple days later, I spoke to him, and I said, "I need your agreement that next time, my body knows what it needs." And I said, "Next time that I tell you I'm going to leave, I want you to allow me to leave. And I want you to agree to that." And he skirted the question. He basically, what I heard with his lack of response, and the other response that he made was that he knew better for me, which is bullshit, because nobody knows better for you in that moment. And he had his own reasons, and I'd call it spiritual ego, and he thought he was doing the best for me, and these kind of things. But when he did not agree to allow me to have that, I don't feel it's safe to return into that sweat lodge. And that's what I've seen quite often in past sweat lodges I've been, is people that are in spiritual ego. The last previous time to that, when I did want to leave the sweat lodge, I was actually feeling sick to my stomach and other things. The woman that wasn't even leading the sweat lodge, but was the wife of the man leading the sweat lodge, demanded that if I wanted to exit, I was in the sweat lodge naked in this one. Some sweat lodges do, some doesn't. But she demanded I was sitting right beside the door, and I just wanted to walk out, but she demanded I had to crawl around the inside of the sweat lodge completely naked with my junk hanging out, and to be shamed because I wanted to leave. And it left me in a very ugly space, and that woman I wouldn't trust at all ever again, or her husband, because he wouldn't allow me to leave, and I was sitting right by the door, and that was the requirement for me to be able to stay in the lodge, was I had to be by the door or even go into the lodge, and she violated that, even though I was standing by the door. And yes, there is some thing about going in and out in the same order and this kind of stuff, but it's holding to a principle that I disagree with. Now, I look at a lot of different things, yoga, and even things like breath work that are soft or whatever, going in so hard that you basically, you feel pain in doing whatever you do, and then feeling that you have to cry and you have to scut it out and feel bad and struggle, and this whole life and this whole spiritual awakening process we're in, it's like you get a badge of courage or whatever for feeling pain and discomfort. Well, I blasted through all that kind of stuff, and trust me, the more love I feel for myself, the less I feel drawn or forcing myself into situations that make me feel really uncomfortable or overheated or that kind of stuff. Brings me so much peace, because now I'm choosing myself. I'm saying I'm not going to go into those things. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be scourged. I'm not going to be suffering. It's painted all throughout history, and I don't know, religion and other things are all about pain and God and suffering and how you're judged for your sins and all this kind of stuff, when the part of me now, it's just all about forgiveness, about love, about self-love, about choosing myself and choosing better. So I'll leave it at that. Just go inside. Does it feel good to push yourself so hard that it's uncomfortable and take yourself up to edges? And why do you need to do that? What in you is so suffering that it has to hurt itself to be able to heal. Just look at that. I am finding that I won't do that. I'm going to a sweat lodge tonight, but I will not enter the sweat lodge. I will be there and I'll share the energy with other people and hold space for them. I'm actually agreed to babysit a dog while the mother's in there. Feels so much better. The softness. I can be part of a community, but I don't have to struggle and suffer for it. So where in your life are you struggling and suffering or feeling pain or pushing yourself so hard that you want to burn up or die or whatever because you believe that's the right thing to do? But a part of your heart is going to go in and say, there's something off here, and loving yourself might be a different decision now. So go take a look at it. You might be surprised. Just a suggestion. I love you all. Thank you.